is my 2002 Mini Cooper S. Now this generation of Mini has got something very special about it. In fact, you won't see this on any other generation of Mini that came after it. But if you want to know what that is, stay tuned to the video. Now this car certainly isn't standard, and I want to talk to you guys about what's been done to it in terms of under the engine, the performance, the handling, and obviously the looks. My name's Damien and welcome to Damo Drives. Now I said there was something unique about this car. Well, I cut straight to the chase. It's what's under the bonnet. I need to step back a few years in order to put a bit of context to this. BMW bought the Rover Group back in 1996. Now Rover had already started designing this car and BMW basically let the designers just get on with it. It was a brand new platform, brand new car. Well, it basically had very little to do with the original Mini. And they needed a new engine. Now, the team at Rover wanted to use the K-Series engine. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe some of you guys know and could put in the comments down below, because I couldn't find out why they didn't go with the K-Series. But what did happen was Chrysler and Rover joined forces to make a brand new company called Tritec Motors and built new engines. They were small capacity 4 cylinders, and that's what ended up in the Mini. Now that's not particularly unusual. That came in, I think it was 2000, getting my dates right here. End of 2000, the first next generation of Mini rolled off the production line. Customer orders were 2001, and you had that 1.6 litre single overhead cam engine. Roll on another year and we got a new hot version of the car, and that's exactly what we have here, the Cooper S. And the thing that made it different was we now had 161 horsepower, and the reason for that was the Supercharger, as in the Cooper S. Now you will not find any other generation of Mini using a Supercharger, and the reason for that, well, when it came to the end of life of this car, 2006, 2007, and we went on to the next gen, BMW weren't happy with the performance and the overall characteristics of the Tritec engine, so that went in the bin. They sold their 50% stake in Tritec Motors and they teamed up with the PSA group to form a brand new, the N14 engine. Then we went on to the N18, all being turbocharged. So there we go, slightly long-winded, but that is what's very, very different about this car. So here we go, this is the supercharged 1.6 litre Tritec engine. Originally 161 brake horsepower, and with the mods under here, it's increased that power. It just makes it a lot more fun to drive out on the road, and you'll see that shortly. So, mod-wise, if I can remember it all, we have got uprated injectors, so we've got 440cc injectors with Mr. Retro leads, spark plugs that are running cooler. We've got a 17% pulley for the supercharger, which means the supercharger can spin up more, which means it can increase the boost, which increases power. That does increase temperatures, so we've got an AirTech intercooler under here to bring those temperatures down. We've got a Scorpion manifold on here and a 461 cat cam. Obviously all of this has had to be remapped because the ECU thinks, I've got this size injector and it will only request that amount of fuel. I think that's the principle behind it. So that's the main performance mods we've got under here. In terms of sort of handling, we'll cover that as well. So we have got this strut brace here, GTT strut brace, got adjustable camber top mounts They're Silver Project. They're sort of a budget adjustable top mount. I would like to maybe go for a slightly more adjustable one at some point, which will just allow a better setup of the car, but it's doing an okay job at the moment. We've got coilovers, so we've got Tyne Street Sports coilovers and bigger brakes, which is important, so you're going quicker in that way, you're going quicker around the bends, you want to be able to stop quicker. Again, quite a common mod. We've got the Brembo 4-piston calipers from Megane RS, brake discs 330 from the Mini GP2, and we've got Hell braided brake lines throughout the whole car. So there we go, we can now go quicker in a straight line, we can go quicker around corners, we can stop quicker. I think she looks pretty good under there, so let's have a quick talk about styling, and then we'll hop in, we'll have a quick look around in there, and then we'll go for a drive. It's great hearing all these numbers, but really it's what is it like out on the road. We've got a larger air scoop on the front, that's by Atom Speed, and I think that really finishes it off. Normally there's a lot smaller one, but certainly like that. The headlights have had the Jolie mod to them, and again, I think it just adds to it. Lower down we've got this different RPM front splitter, and it just gives it quite an aggressive look. I don't know what you guys think about it. I have had it modified about 6-7 months ago, because this was sitting on the floor. It was just way too low for public roads. I wouldn't have actually got to this point, but let's head down the side. We've got the aero side skirts on here. Kill chrome blacked door handles. And how can I forget these wheels? So these are 1552 Turbo Max wheels, 205 45 17. Ken Block had a big input into the design of these. And the thing about these is there's no spacers. They're actually quite wide. They're an 8J wheel. So, and they sit, well, pretty flush here. So that actually looks pretty good. They're potentially maybe a bit wide. I think they recommend a 7 or 7.5J, but they certainly make the car stand out because there's not very many of them on the market. We have a G-wing at the back. Just makes it, again, I quite like it. It's not too extreme. I wouldn't say it's subtle, but looks pretty good to me. Rear wiper delete. I wish I had a rear wiper at times, especially when it's raining and there's mud all over it, but again, a looks thing. I love this Innocetti badge that the previous person put on. That's nice. Different smokes rear lights, GP rear bumper, and I don't know how I forgot this when I was talking about the performance and tuning, was the exhaust. We've got a Scorpion non-res exhaust, a Scorpion Cat as well. So it sounds better. I think it looks pretty good. I don't know what you guys think, but there we go. That is the Cooper S, and this is my particular Cooper S. We're going to hop in and go for a drive because you know in theory what it can do, but it's all about the driving, isn't it? So let's hop in and we'll go for a drive. So the final piece to the puzzle is inside the car. Now, one thing when I bought it, it had these lovely Corbeau bucket seats, rear seat delete. Bought the car, thought I'd use it as a family car, put a normal interior back in, and then bought another car as the family car. So big regret not having those, but maybe later on I could get some Corbeaus or something back in the car. I'd love to get some custom ones, maybe work with someone like Corbeau to have a look at the seats, how they're made, and you know, a whole video on that, which would be very interesting. But anyway, what have we got in here? We've got this lovely Phlox dash, different stereo double din fitting, so I've got Apple CarPlay on here, Cooler Works shifter, Alcantara handbrake cover, which I really like, and the big thing really is this Taketo steering wheel. It's a dish and it sort of comes out, I don't know if it's showing on camera, but sort of comes out towards you so you can get in quite a good driving position. This is probably one of the most important things. We've got an ultra gauge so you can see all of your air intake, temperatures, well, pretty much everything the car can give you is shown on there. We've got the AFR gauge, which has been put in there so you can monitor your, as it says, the air fuel ratio mix. Make sure things aren't going a bit untowards with that because you don't want it running rich well, even worse if it's running lean. So there we go, that's the overall car. You've seen what it's like, we've talked about it, but let's take this out properly for a drive and see how good it is. Certainly a fun car. So here we go, we've discussed what modifications have been made to this car. So with that remap, the pulley, the injectors, the different exhausts, the manifold, we're putting out 191 wheel horsepower. In pub torque terms, that's about 220 brake, so that's measured at the crank, which manufacturers do because it sounds better than it is. But if we looked at the 220, that's pretty much the same as what you'd get on a JCW or even the GP model of this car. So it's got plenty of pickup. I love the sound of it. We have got this Scorpion exhaust, so it does make some nice noises rather than the boring sounds that sometimes come out of them. But the supercharger winds up. Oh. One thing I will say, which I'm not sure it's coming across, the ride is pretty firm on this. I think because we've had Vibrotechnics engine mounts on the lower and mid, and also we've got poly bushed absolutely everywhere, including, well, gearbox is probably the biggest one on here. Everything is definitely firm. Minis always have been pretty firm. They're short wheelbase, lightweight cars. They're like 1,200 kilos or less. So the power to weight ratio it's good. I've done a 60 time in this. Two of us, 6.3 seconds. So I reckon that would easily keep up with the JCW, if not beat it. Unless I actually tried it, I wouldn't know, but I think overall it's been very well put together there. It's more track focused, I'd say. British roads are rubbish. It could probably do with softer suspension, because everything does like to vibrate in the car, and it does hop and skip, which we'll probably find out in a minute. Oh. Brakes are good. 4-piston Brembo calipers on here. They are absolutely brilliant. There's plenty of stopping power in them. Down a gear. Oh, the traction control came in, that's going off. It's one thing I dislike about this car, is the traction control is really, really intrusive. So we're going to turn that off and push on. I've had a few problems with this car which have now been fixed, and this is what a Mini is all about. It's about back roads, it's about getting this thing and absolutely spanking it when given the chance. But when you want to drive calmly, it's got a 6-speed gearbox and you can just potter. You don't have to be flying around at 1,000,000 miles an hour. The exhaust isn't intrusive. It's just got a nice, more of a deep, burbly sound, and when it gets hot and on lift-off, you do get some slight pops going, which are quite cool. They're not really known, supercharged cars, for actually going pop, 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 pop. That's more of the later generation turbocharged cars. It does surprise me, this is a 22-year-old car and it will keep up with the best of them nowadays. And relax, there we go, we've got the Clubman. I think that's a brilliant car, especially the JCW one of that. That is absolutely rapid as, that's like 305 brake. Completely BMW though. I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but it's got the same engine as you'd find in the 135M. There's a number of BMWs and they all use the same engines. And that would completely annihilate this car, 60 in like 4.5 seconds. Although it is very heavy, but it is all-wheel drive, so it's just so different to this. So one thing I will say about owning this age of Mini is that they do require quite a lot of maintenance. Now I've had the car a year, it's on 85,000 miles, and so far I've had to replace both the top mounts, track rod assemblies, drop links. It's had new wheel bearing, 2 new wheel bearings, speed sensor. I think there's a couple of other bits as well, so they do need looking after. And let's not get started about fuel consumption. It's bad, really bad. Yes, if you push on, it's absolutely abysmal, but generally it's just terrible. I think that's one of the reasons BMW, when they changed away from this Tritec engine, was yeah, they didn't particularly like the fuel consumption either. I'm lucky to get 25 to the gallon out of it. If you're driving it how it wants to be, a bit spiritively, you're looking at low 20s, and there's no way a 1.6 litre engine should be doing that. It really isn't great, but I didn't buy this car to even worry about fuel consumption. I've got a little Honda Jazz for that, which does like 45 to the gallon. This is my weekend fun car. So there we go, this is my 21-year-old English built, German owned, Brazilian engined Mini R53. I do like it. It's a lot of fun when it works, but I'm sure anyone with an R53 will say exactly the same thing. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. Comments are always welcome, and remember to click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.